Well, CBN News has launched a brand new channel on YouTube, and it's dedicated to sports. For years, we've been covering what we see from a faith angle on display from prominent sports figures, which is always great to see. And for sports fans who are kind of tired of the hot take sports hosts who cater to the kind of like the world's definition of what sports fans, what they think they like, you get a more level-headed, faith-based approach to sports reporting, and CBN's Will Dawson is heading it up, and he joins us now. Will, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, and I appreciate the level-headed comment. That's not what everybody says about me. So, Dan, thank you so much for being part of that. No, but we're here in Omaha, Nebraska, where one of the greatest sporting events, I think, if you're a sports aficionado at all, you get 8 of the best teams in college baseball right here, slugging it out to become College World Series champion. It takes place over 10 days. It's an amazing event. People from all over come, and this year it's no different.
Yeah, it looks like great weather out there too, Will. And just so, I don't know if anybody caught that, I want to make sure we get it here. YouTube.com/CBN Sports. Make sure you bookmark it, get the notifications and all that, Will. They're doing great stuff over there. And so we'll dive into, because I know you're seeing there's some great faith angles, some really big Christians here at the event that you're at. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. I want to dive into that. But let's start with a couple other big sports stories that are happening around the world right now. And let's start with the NBA Finals, Will. And I feel a little bad that I should almost recuse myself from this conversation as a lifelong Celtics fan who are on the verge of a potential sweep here of the Dallas Mavericks. But Game 4 is tonight. What have you seen from this series so far?
Well, coming into it, I know that you can speak to this as well. Everyone thought the Celtics, no way, they've had it too easy all the way through the playoffs. They're not the team this year. Then you have a team like Dallas, who is a 5 seed coming through. They make it to the NBA Finals, and they think this is going to be a really good series. But that wasn't the case. I emailed you last week, and I was like, let's get together next Friday before the College World Series, and we're going to be talking about a Celtics sweep. I mean, they really have been dominant. Kristaps Porzingis is a guy that stepped in Game 2. He's out now. Jaylen Brown, the star Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum has been incredible. I mean, your whole team, when I say your whole team, I truly mean that. Al Horford, I mean, from top to bottom, the Celtics have just been great this year. Are they one of those teams that you can look at in the future and look back and say this was a dynasty? I don't think so, but you probably have a different view on that. But I think they've done everything expected of them. And will it be a sweep? I don't know. The Celtics last year were down 3-0. And it's not something that you want to do is overlook Game 4, because it takes 4 games to win the trophy. But they came back after being down 3-0 and pushed to Game 7. It's very rarely happened, I think 4 times in the history of the NBA Finals. And if history is any indicator, the Celtics are going to be hoisting that trophy once again in their illustrious program.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think to your point about the dynasty or that sort of look on this team, I mean, my take on that is that I think regardless, I mean, looks like they'll probably finish this thing off. And when they do, I think it'll take another title or 2 before you start talking and comparing them to maybe those Warriors teams from a few years ago that rattled off a few and looked essentially invincible, especially once they picked up Durant. So I think time will tell on that, but they certainly have the bones in place right now with Tatum and Brown heading that thing up and just great pieces all around. If they can keep this team or most of it together, they're going to be dangerous for some time now. But to your point on, like, these closeout games are tough. And so one of the things the Celtics have going for them is Joe Mazzulla, their coach, who kind of was just a no-name assistant coach that nobody knew of. And then when their old coach, Ime Udoka, got suspended and then basically fired for what they never really disclosed, just said team violations, he got kind of thrown into this role, and he's done a great job. But he's a guy that's been outspoken about his faith. And he kind of went viral. And Will, you guys had this on the sports page over there on the CBN Sports channel. And I want to play this clip, Crutch, if we can, of how Mazzulla was asked about race, essentially a race type question. And then here's how he responded. It went viral. Let's take a look.
Hey, Joe, Ben School, Yahoo Sports. For the first time since 1975, this is the NBA Finals where you have 2 black head coaches. Given the plight sometimes of black head coaches in the NBA, do you think this is a significant moment? Do you take pride in this? How do you view this, or do you not see it at all?
I wonder how many of those have been Christian coaches. David Aldridge?
He essentially was asked about, hey, how do you feel about being, black head coach, going against another black head coach? And he said, I wonder how many of those have been Christian coaches. And then the silence just sits there, and he lets it drop. It's just incredible clip there from Joe Mazzulla. But he's not shy about his faith, is he?
He's not at all. No, he's somebody who has been outspoken for a long time, and a guy that came from West Virginia when he played college basketball. He was a workhorse, a guy that just would get after it and work hard, put his head down and just go after it. But yeah, what a great guy. Joe Mazzulla, CBN Sports will be looking to talk to CBN or to Joe Mazzulla, because that is exactly what we do at CBN Sports. We ask those questions. We're in the press conference and we say, hey, coach, I know that faith is very important to you. Would you be glad to talk about it? And when we're here at events like this, when we're at press conferences at the NBA Finals or at the Super Bowl, that's what we do. And we love to be able to share that with our audience, because whether we like it or not, what's shared, like you at the beginning of the segment here, there's a sports media out there that doesn't want to hear that. But I think that there are a lot of people who do. And we have seen that just in clips that we've shared over the past couple of weeks, 3 weeks. And so a guy like Joe Mazzulla, who is bold and stands up for his faith, I think that does inspire people, and people want to hear that.
Yeah, I think so too. And what made me think about the types of people they target, like you can tell when you watch a show on TV or listen to a show on a radio, you can tell what they think of you by the advertisements that come out. And so many times when I listen to sports radio, which I like to do, I like hearing the sports talk, the ads are for all of these things that are just debauchery. It's always alcohol, it's always strip clubs, and it's always just the stereotypical what they think a guy likes, and so it's just, this is a completely different spin on sports. It's we shouldn't be lowering the bar that low for how, what we think of the people who are watching sports, because normal people like sports too. You don't have to be a degenerate to like sports. So, so again, go over to the CBN Sports channel if you want, if you appreciate that viewpoint and you want to get more content from that angle. All right, let's go to the second topic here. And Caitlin Clark has been stirring a lot of conversation on the WNBA, which is something that really hasn't happened on a national level too much. But it's interesting because the debate seems to be more like off the court kind of stuff. And it's interesting because here you finally get all this attention, and it seems like there's a lot of infighting going on. And essentially the debate, Will, comes down to this. See if you think I'm right on essentially what the debate is, which is she getting normal rookie hazing, or is she being targeted kind of at a disproportionate level because other players are essentially jealous of the attention that she's getting? What have you seen on that front?
Well, again, if we talk mainstream sports, the mainstream sports channels, you know who they are. They will tell you that that's just part of what happens to rookies when they come into the league. It happens in the NBA. It happens in every other sport. That's not what I'm seeing. And I know that with Caitlin Clark, she's the Michael Jordan of women's basketball. People don't like to hear that, or at least that's the narrative maybe from some of the mainstream sports stations. But that is true. The WNBA has been losing tens of millions of dollars every single year. I think in 2018, they had lost $12 million that past season. So they continue to lose money. They have a product that people don't love. They have good players in the league. There's no doubt about it. I think the problem is you have more villains than you do heroes. Let's look back at the NBA in the late 1970s when you had Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. You had two guys that people loved to pull for. Did you have two white guys? They were a black guy and a white guy. I mean, race wasn't involved, and that was important. I think it's important to talk about and to consider this time around too. With Caitlin Clark, the WNBA has a lottery ticket that, for whatever reason, they're just not wanting to cash in.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. And like to your point about the normal rookie hazing thing. I tend to lead that in your direction as well, lean in that direction, that it's not that. I mean, you see, for example, Victor Wembanyama. Here's a rookie that came into the NBA with all kinds of fanfare. And you didn't see NBA players trying to hurt him, essentially, or knock him down or give him hard fouls or all this stuff. You just saw people competing like normal, and then they'd shake his hand at the end of the game and talk to him. And I see a lot of the NBA players are praising him and stuff. So, and there's a guy who got a lot of attention for doing nothing yet in the NBA. The same complaint that a lot of people have on Caitlin Clark. So I don't know that it's normal. I don't, again, I haven't watched the WNBA, so maybe it is normal for them. I'm like a lot of Americans who didn't really follow it that closely up until this point. So I guess that remains to be seen. But as far as on the court, Caitlin Clark's I think it's been kind of like an up and down start for her. A lot of good games, some decent numbers there, but she's definitely adjusting. Have you seen that as well?
She definitely has been. And I think anytime you take a step to the next level, you're going to have there's going to be an adjustment period. I think the speed in which these ladies play the game, like they say, when you go from college to the NBA, they're grown men that you're competing against, and sometimes they're 18, 19 years old. So there is an adjustment that way. But I don't think that she's really taken a step back from who she is. You can still see the brilliance in the scoring. She's the college basketball all-time leading scorer, and everybody knows that she will be a star, and it may take some adjustment. But again, to your point, I think one of the things that the NBA has done so well is that when there are stars going out, they're ready to pass the torch on to the next generation of stars. You do see it with LeBron James and KD and Steph, who were at the twilight maybe of at least of their peak. And guys like Victor Wembanyama that they embrace. Shaquille O'Neal, there was a video of him embracing Victor Wembanyama. It's very different than what's happening with Caitlin Clark. And we didn't even talk about the Olympic snub.
Yeah, that was interesting as well. It's like kind of like, do you want eyeballs or not? Like whether you like the reason people are watching or not, or why not just take advantage of that? It seems like a no-brainer, but like you said, they're kind of fumbling the ball at the 1 yard line there. All right, go ahead. Respond to that.
I was just gonna say as far as sending her to the Olympics, of course, this Olympic team is looking for the 8th consecutive gold medal, which is unprecedented. So they've got a recipe for success. But honestly, I'm going to give you two old sayings, right? If a tree falls in the forest, does it even fall? Nobody knows about it. And then the other thing is a rising tide raises all ships. So send Caitlin Clark. If she's sitting on the bench and people are upset about her playing time, who cares? At least people are watching. And then you have a marketable players that now are coming back to the WNBA, as long as they're not villains. But unfortunately, it's more Joker and Batman than it is Superman and Batman.
Yeah. I mean, you'd really think these other players would be like, great, this is a chance for somebody to finally see what we've been doing and not be mad about it. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But let's get to the main event of why you're here, Will, and you're at this NCAA Men's Baseball World Series. And as we talked about, you're looking for the faith angles here. Before we talk about the X's and O's, what's going on the field, let's what faith angle drew you to this event?
Well, I have to, in full disclosure, say that I'm a University of Kentucky alum, and it is one of the great stories in college baseball right now. They're making their first trip to Omaha. So in 120 years that the University of Kentucky has been around, they've never been here. But they're led by a guy named Nick Mingione, who is a believer. He's a solid Christian guy who loves his players. He does things a little bit differently. He is a player's coach. He won National Coach of the Year back in 2017 in his first year as a head coach. This is one of the things that he's talking about. He was never a head coach on any level, going back to T-ball or Little League or anything. Never a head coach. He was always an assistant. He was an assistant coach at Mississippi State that came to Omaha. But Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director of Kentucky, brought him in, took a chance on him. He becomes National Coach of the Year in 2017. They went to a super regional. Fast forward a couple years later, he's got some injuries, and now he's on the hot seat. Kentucky wasn't even making their own tournament. So just in a couple of years, we've got some clips on CBN Sports Instagram page. It is amazing what's happened to him, to the players. Nick Mingione, in the middle of a press conference, stopped to worship singing a Phil Wickham song, just because of what God has done through him and through his players. He's a guy that you absolutely can cheer for. If you don't have a team to cheer for at this College World Series, look at Kentucky and Coach Mingione and his guys, the way they play, the way they compete, the way they have fun. That's a story that we're following here.
And Phil Wickham, didn't he share that clip? If I've heard you right.
Yeah, he did. Phil Wickham on the Instagram shared that, which was really cool. And then we had another guy who does college football, David Pollack, who shared it as well. So it got over on Instagram anyway. It got over 500,000 views. That was pretty cool.
That's really great. And if you watch him on these press conferences, I would, again, encourage you to go do that at youtube.com/CBN Sports. It's awesome. I mean, he also gives his testimony up there, essentially talking about how he had all the wrong priorities and then putting Christ first in his life. And it's really great stuff when you see these people on the highest stages, just really talking about their faith. But let's talk about the strategy, the teams on the field here. Will, what can we expect? Who are the teams to beat? And I mean, it's just kicking off today, right? Is today the first kind of
we're 30 minutes.
Yeah,
we're 30 minutes from game one. So we've got North Carolina and Virginia in the first game, and then in the second game we have Tennessee and Florida State. Tennessee has been the number one seed or the number one team overall in baseball this year. They were here last year. So I'd say if there's any one team that you'd look for to win it all, it'd be Tennessee. But since 1999, the number one overall seed has not won a College World Series. So it's kind of a weird thing. You almost don't want to be that number one seed coming in here because it's been, I don't know, bad luck for the team that has.
It's like the Madden cover or something.
It is, yeah, the Madden cover. So, but there are 8 teams here who all won super regionals, who all deserve to be here. You got 4 ACC teams, you have 4 SEC teams, and honestly, in this format, double elimination format, it's really anybody, which makes this really cool. It's almost like a March Madness for college baseball. Not one and done, but because the elimination games are the way they are, it makes for such an incredible environment. And this stadium holds 24,000 people. Most college baseball stadiums hold 6,000, 7,000. This one holds 24,000. It's like a major league stadium, and they fill it up. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I can see if people have been kind of coming and going and posing for pictures there behind you there for quite a bit. So great. Well, I look forward to hearing and seeing more of your reports from there in Omaha at the College World Series. And again, you can check that out over at our all new CBN Sports page. It's youtube.com/CBN Sports. A lot of great uplifting content there from the sports world. Will Dawson joining us, and he heads that up. So Will, I appreciate the update. Look forward to talking again soon.
Dan, it's always great to talk to you. And I know I say for you, go Celtics, right?
Yes, sir. Let's get it done. I don't want to stress this thing out. I don't want to be the first team out of 156 tries to blow this thing. So let's get it done sooner than later.
Great talking to you.
All right, Will, take care.